Hello, my name is Dante Renee, and welcome to the 10 Room Bizarro YouTube page, where I talk about films that I believe need to be talked about more. Tonight's film is Schoolgirl Report Volume 6. This is Schoolgirl Report Volume 6. I have already, you can find my first 5 volume reviews on this YouTube page already, and I'll be doing all the subsequent ones. I believe it goes up to 13. This is Volume 6, and the tagline is "What Parents Would Gladly Hush Up." This is the back of the DVD case, and this is put out by Impulse Pictures, which I believe is a subsidiary of Synapse, kind of their sexploitation, more erotic subsidiary, their Impulse Pictures. This is Schoolgirl Report Volume 6, and this is from 1973. Here it is, folks, and if you know any of my other reviews for the Schoolgirl Report series, you'll note that the girl on the cover here was actually on the cover of another one of the previous volumes, as she is also in this film as well. As you know, if you want to know any general basics of the Schoolgirl Report series, definitely look at my other reviews, especially Volume 1, to get kind of the background of this series. And know that these are German films with an amazing... let's just get into it right here, okay? Because these films are anthology films, these are movies that really work like anthology films, and some of the volumes so far have had wraparound type stories, and then other of them have not, as you can see from the other reviews. For this particular one, as you know, this deals with schoolgirls, and these deal with statistics and evidence of schoolgirl and young girl sexuality and things like this. And of course, this is cinema. This is German sexploitation, erotic cinema, with truth and sociology and sex and weirdness, and it's all kind of wrapped up in this core of, is this a real documentary or is it not? Is it based on truth or is it not? You know, really almost the cannibal holocaust of sexploitation films, if you're really going to look at it. Schoolgirl Report Volume 6. First and foremost, the music in these films, the lead song, you can find in my previous reviews talking about it. They use the same lead song, and you also have some other pieces. The music is just awesome. It's very, very 70s, groovy, funky, rock a bit. It just has that sexploitation vibe to the music, and it's really groovy, really funky, really well done, a lot of instrumentation. In this particular volume, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that this volume, Volume 6 here, is really the volume to me that I noticed the most diversity of music and the most music throughout the film, throughout the different stories. The music is, kind of lower, and it's in the background, but I noticed more music throughout this film consistently than in the other volumes. And so you're getting a lot of different types of music in this particular film. You're getting, like I said, the 70s groovy, funky sexploitation type music, but you're also getting some rock, and you're getting some kind of moody type music in the background, and it's not loud. It's not the type of louder music that you're going to be hearing, but it is there, and you can hear it in the background, but it's not in the forefront like a Dario Argento film. You know what I'm saying? And I don't know how much of that has to do with it being maybe the sound mix or whatever, but these are all subtitled on Impulse Pictures. These are all subtitled, and let's go into it right off the bat here. The movie starts off with a narrator, which is very common in this series, but a narrated purpose, the purpose of this film, and talking about statistics, talking about the state of the world for schoolgirls, talking about the state of the world for teen sexuality, so on and so forth, giving you the purpose for yet another volume. And they would do this sometimes in the subsequent, in the sequels, the volumes, where they would say, this is the reason why we're doing Volume 6, okay? And we have that narrator. And really, this film kind of brings back the wraparound story, so to speak, kind of linking all the stories. Whereas in another volume that I previously reviewed, there was no rhyme or reason, there was no wraparound story, just kind of, the stories were just kind of machine gunning out, okay? In this particular one, and I make notes for the Schoolgirl Report series because there is a lot going on in these particular films. But in this film, you start off and you think that it's just going to be, a random story in the film. So it's just going to kick off the anthology, and what it becomes is the wraparound story, and it's very, very unique. And there's a lot of style in this in Volume 6 as well too. I'm going to go out and say also, well, I also noticed the music in Volume 6. I also noticed that there was maybe the most stylistic cinematography out of all the volumes I've seen so far over the first 5 volumes. Volume 6 had the most stylistic cinematography that I've seen so far. So there was some impressive shots, and I'll detail, some of the things, but really kind of almost Franco-ish, ish type shots where you're shooting through things, taking up, having objects take over part of the scene, part of your screen, shooting through cameras on the floor, getting people walking larger than life, things of that nature. Some very interesting style in this film. Very, very the most artistic cinematography I've seen in the Schoolgirl Report series thus far. And essentially, the wraparound story has to do with 2 teenagers in a school, and they are caught having sex. And now they go to the committee of the school, and they're trying to prove that they are not really doing anything that wrong because of their love for each other and the hypocrisy that's already evident in the school amongst the teachers themselves and amongst the students themselves, and how these 2 teenagers are standing out. There's some themes running through this film. Like I said, the Schoolgirl Report series is a very, very a complex series, more so than I think people give credit for, because yes, essentially it's an erotic sexploitation film with schoolgirl type fetish fantasies and things like that, but it also kind of deals with like statistics and sociology and philosophy and culture and all this crazy stuff. So it becomes like a pseudo documentary, but some of it is seemingly based on reality, and then others, but it's all cinema. And back in the previous volumes, they would interview people on the streets and things like that, and you're not getting it in this one anymore. But you're still kind of faced with this type of tension throughout the film of almost education versus just sexploitation. So it's really, really interesting stuff. And essentially, I'm going to give you a couple of the some of the storylines, just very random, very general. I don't want to give away too many things, but we have basically one story involving a female teacher and a student's obsession with her, and this involves de-virginizing and how sucky it is, heterosexual, how sucky guys are, de-virginizing women, and also blackmail, and there's a lot of things that are involved here. We also deal with rape in one of the storylines of this film as well. It's rape within a school and the hypocrisy of the school system. We have a theme running through this film. Can young people actually love each other? That's something else that's kind of running through the film. We have we have revenge in here. We have this kind of sleazy guy that's taking advantage of girls and teenage girls' trust and not feeling loved anymore. And there's this wild fight scene in this film and this vicious, violent death that is all part of revenge and all of these different things. We have a section of kind of a montage of images from previous Schoolgirl Report films in here as well that is very, very interesting. Some of the more controversial images from previous Schoolgirl Report films. We also have repeat characters. We have repeat actors and actresses in the Schoolgirl Report series, and you're going to see them in here. There's this one guy that always plays an Italian guy, and it's one of the funniest stories in this film. Almost the most sex comedy type stories in the film. An Italian, a very stereotypical Italian. He also plays a stereotypical Italian in another Schoolgirl Report film. Window washer, and the sexual adventures that happen with the school window washer. Yes, in a sex ed class. Some wild stuff there. And we have some great shots in here, even using glasses on a desk and kind of the reflection of the glasses on the desk. You'll actually see that in the menu screen of the DVD. So like I said, there's a lot of cinema style in here, shooting, editing, but mostly shooting, I would say. We have your standard controversial type story of a father and pimping out his daughter. And there are some twists and turns in this film, almost giving you a distrust of the people that you think you should trust the most. You think teenagers are bad? Well, look at the parents. Yes, and that's a pretty wild story of love, and that story gets pretty freaking dark. And then we kind of end in the anthology stories. I'm just kind of giving you tidbits of the stories, but of a fencing teacher and student. And this is really, kind of a pretty hot and heavy story dealing with sex versus love. And really one of the big themes of this film is, can teenagers, really love each other? And the other theme is love with sex or love without sex. And as the Schoolgirl Report films go, remember, these are sexploitation erotic films. You're getting full frontal women and men, but mostly women. You're getting implied sex. Simulated sex. Sometimes you will have hands, though, grabbing genitalia, but you're not getting any explicit intercourse or things like that, or bodily fluids or things like that. But like I said before, these films are very, very sexy. They're very erotic, with underwear, with butts, with vaginas. All of the actresses are very sexually attractive, and for the women out there too, you might be attracted to some of these guys as well. Also, I noted that there was a guy in this film who was in a Jess Franco film. Yes, there's a guy in here, I believe he was in the Jess Franco film Sexy Sisters, which I also reviewed on this YouTube page. So that was pretty awesome seeing him in here. He's actually in one of the stories and plays a significant role in this film. So look out for him. But this is a film that really works up the sexuality. We do have the simulated sex, but we just have a lot of fetish type situations that are seemingly innocent and educational, and yet that's where the erotic elements come from. This is Schoolgirl Report Volume 6. Not as taboo as previous Schoolgirl Report volumes, because these films can get pretty taboo and pretty, holy crap, this would never be made today. Politically incorrect, taboo, shocking, which, brings in fetishes and things like that. This particular film really almost focuses, this volume 6 really almost focuses on between teenagers. I mean, you do have some teacher stuff, you do have some parent stuff, but some of the previous volumes were pretty with incest and things like that. But this particular one really focuses on teenage couples, I would say, in a lot of regards, and the craziness between them, and how sexy, how the film kind of brings that sexy element to it. So this is Schoolgirl Report Volume 6 right here, and you can pick this up from Impulse Pictures. Stay tuned for previous volumes, and check out all the first 5 volumes. Thank you so much for watching the 10 Room Bizarro YouTube page, where I talk about films that I believe need to be talked about more. Please feel free to check out my own personal films at youtube.com/poopy diarrhea. Thank you. Schoolgirl Report Volume 6. Good night.